What's up, guys? It is Carly here, bringing you day number 7 of my 31 days of horror, and today I'm going to be talking about a film that is not necessarily horror, but definitely falls under the crime thriller aspect, and it also has some horrific elements to it, and that movie is Seven from, I believe this is from the year 1995. I keep messing up years and dates, so I apologize for that, but I'm pretty sure this came out in 95, and of course it stars Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Now, Seven is a movie that I have tried to watch on multiple occasions, one of which was at a friend's house a few years back, and, there was just a group of friends together, and this really wasn't the best movie for that setting because it's a very long movie, and it just isn't a very fun movie necessarily, even though it is a good movie, I will say. So when we tried to watch it, we all kind of gave up and weren't paying attention. So I've never actually seen Seven, and I wanted to finally give it a watch. I've had this VHS for a while now. JP actually got it for me probably 2 years ago, I would say, at this point, and it just kind of sat in the collection. But I finally watched it, and yeah, so let's get into the plot here. So Seven, you were following these two detectives played by Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and Morgan Freeman is someone who's been in the business and been living in the same city for years and years now. He's been around for quite a while, and then you have Brad Pitt, who's kind of just starting out and just moved there. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on with them, and they start to get involved with this crime that's going on. They are following a serial killer who they discover is killing people based on the 7 deadly sins. He's killing people that seem to be kind of connected with each of the sins, so they are trying to track him down. Yeah, that is the story there mainly. I don't know what it is with this movie. For some reason, it is really hard for me to get into it and really pay attention to it, and that's kind of why I put it off for so long, because there's been multiple times where I have tried to watch it besides that time at the friend's house, and I just could not get into it. I think it's maybe the length of the movie kind of turns me off, and the fact that this isn't one that I saw when I was younger, because I've seen many long movies and it doesn't really faze me when they're long, as long as I've seen them before, because they seem to fly by. But with this one, I don't know what it is. I was just kind of dreading watching it, especially because it's not necessarily a horror movie. It just is more of a thriller crime, as I said. And I will say that this movie does have some really, really good moments to it, and it's got very strong dialogue and just memorable lines and scenes going on throughout it that do capture my interest. I felt that I wasn't interested all the way throughout, but there were some particular scenes that I really enjoyed, some of which were the part where Morgan Freeman's character meets Brad Pitt's wife, who is played by Gwyneth Paltrow. They meet at this diner, and they're kind of just talking about life, and he's kind of giving her advice. I really enjoyed that scene, and there were a few other ones too that really stuck out to me in this film. The scenes where they find the dead bodies are pretty brutal, like what happened to some of them, so that alone is where the horror aspect comes in this movie, and I think they do a pretty good job with that. They are kind of disturbing, and just learning about the deaths and what is going on, and why this killer is doing what he's doing, or more like what he is doing in general, not really his motive, but the idea of the 7 deadly sins is very interesting and pretty disturbing. I also like the ending. Depressing, but it's definitely a downbeat ending, but I found it to be very effective and very emotional, so I did really enjoy that about it. Overall, this movie, obviously, it's got fantastic acting, fantastic dialogue, as I said, and some really great just scenes in general in it. But yeah, is it one that I would really run back to a whole lot? Definitely not, just because, like I said, I had trouble really staying interested in it. It did have those scenes that caught me, and I enjoyed. Another one being the dinner scene when Morgan Freeman goes over to Brad Pitt's home for the first time. I thought that was a pretty. Overall, this just isn't one that I necessarily love, but I can see why it is kind of considered like a classic in a way, even though it's not that old. But a lot of people talk about this movie to this day and say how amazing it is and that the plot is pretty genius, and I can definitely agree with that. So I give this movie a solid 8 out of 10. Once again, not really for me, but I can appreciate why other people really enjoy it, because it is a really solid, well done film. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for 7. Thank you guys for joining me for day number 7. Oh, didn't mean to do that. But yeah, day number 7 of my 31 days of horror. We are finally a week in. And yeah, I'll see you for day number 8.